Yes, let's go. Throw the hook with the best of them. King Kong beat your chest, should've slept on you. What's next? The check drip dip, run the neck, check hook by the bookfish hook off the deck. ShowBizz. Throw the hook, shouldn't have slept on you. Oops, off that. Yeah, off that. What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz, the adult. Alright, man. So, I see many of you asking me to respond to Teddy Atlas and what he had to say about Canelo Alvarez taking on better opposition. Whoops! Alright, man. Look. First, I want to say this. So you guys want me to go to war with Teddy Atlas? You want me to have beef with Teddy Atlas? Well, let me tell you something. Man, hell no, I ain't gonna have no beef with Teddy Atlas. That man's an OG. He's a pillar of the sport. Look at here. This book right here, forget. Look, Ring Magazine, Bible of Boxing. Yeah, you the Bible of Boxing. But I tell you this is my Bible right here. Teddy Atlas and Burt Sugar. These two guys are the pillar of the sport. I have ripped these pages apart, quoting out of these pages. So, look, Burt Sugar, Teddy Atlas, all these boys, Emmanuel Stewie, all these pillars of the sport. I got mad respect and love for you, but I'm gonna tell you something, Teddy Atlas. You're wrong on this one. You're wrong on this one. Go Cup. Let's hit the Tyson battle. Round one. Oh, look. I do want to say this, though. I want to say this. I know many of you asked me to discuss Yildirim versus Canelo and why Yildirim was even the mandatory and why that fight even happened. I think this is a great segue into what I have to say in response to Teddy Atlas and his criticisms of Canelo Alvarez. Look, Yildirim was rightfully the mandatory, right? Just to let you guys know, if you don't know, when people saying, Yildirim came off that loss with Darrell, then 2 years of inactivity, and now he's fighting Canelo Alvarez for the WBC title as mandatory. How did that happen? Look, Yildirim, when he took on Darrell, forget just looking at, BoxRec and looking at Wikipedia, wherever you get your, looking at the record as the win and loss columns. Forget about the win and loss column. When Yildirim took on Darrell, that fight ended in a controversial manner, okay? It was a head clash. It was a clash of heads. Yildirim suffered not Yildirim, but Darrell. He suffered a horrible cut, okay? And they gave the fight to Darrell on some kind of technical decision. And the WBC, because, most people thought that Yildirim was winning, and they thought, Yildirim was really the victor there. So with the bad backlash, the WBC mandated Yildirim because they fought for the WBC title. Darrell was the WBC champion at the time. They mandated the rematch, okay? And Yildirim became the mandatory, an immediate rematch. And Yildirim, in that rematch, it was scheduled, but Yildirim, in training camp, he got injured. So we all know what happened there. Darrell went on to take on David Benavidez. David Benavidez defeats Darrell. Then he becomes the WBC champion. Still, Yildirim was the mandatory. And then David Benavidez, he loses the WBC title on the scale. Yildirim, he's still the mandatory. So that's where you'll have criticisms coming from me. I don't understand why Yildirim didn't take on Callum Smith for the vacant WBC title, okay? But that's me saying that Yildirim deserved to take on, to fight for the WBC title. But we all know that Callum Smith and Canelo Alvarez, they fought for the vacant title. Canelo Alvarez defeats Callum Smith, becomes the WBA lineal and the new WBC champion. Yildirim still being the mandatory for the WBC title. Canelo Alvarez satisfied that mandatory, and that's what you saw, Canelo Alvarez versus Yildirim. And that's the black two sugars. Now, let's talk about Teddy Atlas and what he had to say. Come on, Teddy. Come on, Teddy. Come on, Teddy. You know what this is. You act like you don't know what this is. The fight. You've been around forever. This fight with Canelo Alvarez versus Yildirim, you know exactly what this is. Now, Canelo Alvarez, he took on Callum Smith, the lineal champion, a WBA champion, right? They both fought for the WBC title. That was just in December. That was just 2 months ago. And then he fights Yildirim as mandatory. And I thought, if you're going to take on a guy like Yildirim that's not on your level, if you're going to do that, then yeah, have a quick turnaround. Get him out the way. And then they announced Canelo Alvarez versus the undefeated WBO champion, Billy Joe Saunders. I think that's right on time. I didn't understand the criticisms from Teddy Atlas. Look, Teddy Atlas, you act like you don't know what this is, okay? Sugar Ray Leonard, for example. When Sugar Ray Leonard, after he defeated Roberto Duran in a no-mas fight, who did he take on? Who did he take on after that? A guy by the name of Larry Bonds. Who? You all know Larry Bonds. You know who that is. That's the one guy with the thing that did that one thing one time. After Sugar Ray Leonard took on and defeated, KO'd Tommy the Hitman Hearns, one of the greatest fighters of all time, who did Leonard take on after him? You know who he took on? Bruce Finch! Who is that? Who? You know who Bruce Finch is. That's that one guy that did that one thing that one time. You know, you remember. You remember. Forget Sugar Ray Leonard. Let's talk about GOAT Cup. My man, the GOAT, Muhammad Ali. Has Muhammad Ali ever had like a stay busy fight or anything like that after taking on a champion? Certainly. Muhammad Ali KO'd Big George Foreman, becoming the champion. Who did Muhammad Ali take after him? Chuck Wepner. Who? You guys know Chuck Wepner. He's the one that inspired the Rocky movies. Chuck Wepner. How great was he? How about when Muhammad Ali defeated Joe Frazier in a Thriller and who did he take on after that? Jean-Pierre Koopman. Who is Pierre Koopman? Who? You know who that is. He's the one guy who did that one thing one time. So Canelo Alvarez taking on the WBA lineal champion Callum Smith to unify for the WBA and the vacant WBC title and the lineal championship. After a fight like that, turn around in 2 months and take on his mandatory. That makes all the sense in the world to me. Teddy Atlas, you know that. Now, what I understand here, though, coming from the fans saying, okay, he went on and immediately, aggressively satisfied his mandatory in taking on Yildirim. Why didn't he do that with Jamal Charlo? Oops! I could understand that if Jamal Charlo was ever his mandatory. Hit the Tyson Bell. Jamal Charlo was the WBC interim champion at middleweight. He was never mandated. Jamal Charlo, here's the funny thing about that. The WBC mandate in that fight was postponed. And guess what? Jamal Charlo agreed on it being postponed. So Jamal Charlo was never mandated to take on Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, he went on to take on Triple G, went on to take on Danny Jacobs, and then he moved on to light heavyweight. Go Cup! And that's the black two sugars? Look, bottom line, I do understand what Teddy Atlas was saying as far as Yildirim not being good opposition. Have you guys looked at the copy box? Now, you got to look at the copy box numbers right. Okay, there's a lot of people that said that Yildirim wasn't busy, and then I see people DMing me saying, hey, look, my show business partners, look at the copy box. Yildirim threw as many punches as Canelo Alvarez did. But you got to watch the fight. Forget the copy box. Watch the fight. Those punches from Yildirim was tip-tap punches, okay? He came in to lay down, all right? He stood up to lay down. So Teddy Atlas, you're absolutely right there. He was nothing but a punching bag for Canelo Alvarez. And then he quit! So, I understand that. I understand where Teddy Atlas was coming from there. But here's the thing. I also understand the fight itself. I've been watching boxing a long enough time. Not as long as Teddy Atlas. So mad respect to Teddy Atlas, but I have to say, this is the one time I will publicly disagree with Teddy Atlas being so critical of this fight, where he knows himself. Stay busy fight. Mandatory. Now we have that fight with Billy Joe Saunders coming up. And here's another thing. One last point I want to make. When people say, wait a second, Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo Alvarez was already taken care of, almost like they looked past Yildirim. Well, so many words they did. Has that ever happened before? Certainly. I remember when Iron Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield pretty much had their fight sold up before the Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson fight. Buster Douglas, he threw a wrench in that fight. I also remember when Big George Foreman KO'd Ken Norton. You do know that Muhammad Ali and George Foreman already agreed to their $1 million fight before Ken Norton and Big George Foreman was even done. So it's happened before. So in closing, I want to say this. Though I think Teddy Atlas is correct in his assessment that Yildirim was not great opposition for Canelo Alvarez, I think he may have missed the opportunity to say he gets it. It's a mandatory, a stay busy fight. ShowBizz, don't. Hey, I will be announcing who won that giveaway of the photo, Canelo Alvarez versus Floyd Money Mayweather autograph photo. I will be announcing that soon. I'm out.